All right, it looks like we're live and alive. So excited for today's call. Have some very special guests, some new community members of Roots and Culture as well. Glad to have you guys. This is a talk I've had in my dreams for years in the making, and uh, Cuauhtemoc Cuauhtemoc he's been here for many years. I actually got to know him through the advanced permaculture student online through Matt Power's course, teaching bokashi and EM and biochar and a lot of good stuff. And returning to, indigenous, traditional indigenous ways of connecting with the land. And a lot of that is what's inspired me with Roots and Culture and finding ways to give back. And that's a lot of what we're going to get talking about today. And yeah, so really it's just going to be an open conversation about where, all of this is going, the platform and where it's at. And, this is just the beginning and it's time to grow. And just honor to have you here, Cuauhtemoc, and very excited.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is exciting for me too. You guys are the next generation
Yeah,
who's guiding this thing into the new platform. So, I've been doing this a long time, as you know. So it's good to
yeah,
see how
20
this thing's
years.
evolved. Yeah, good to see how
Nice.
it's evolved. I'm talking to you from Portland, Oregon. This is the home of the Chinook tribe. They're part of the Multnomah band, and near an island called Wapato Island. And my ancestors are from the Taino tribe out in the Caribbean. So all those Caribbean islands house the Taino people. And we're descendants from the Mayans, and my father was from the Aztec tribe. So I definitely want to honor my relatives and what brought me here today and gave me this opportunity to share with you guys all. I'd like to thank you guys all for being here today to learn
Yeah,
this. It'll
it's
be
an
a little
honor.
bit
Thank you.
different. Yeah, it'll be a little bit different than we're used to in school books. But I think
Absolutely.
you're able to digest it just the same and hold it in your hearts forever.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is just, our hearts gathering and, it's just speaking directly to each other and finding out ways to be and share and, cultivate abundance because that's really what we're here to do. And, that's what I've seen you do, Cuauhtemoc, practicing all these years. And, I appreciate everything you've been able to put out in the world and help with your community and sharing your knowledge. And yeah, I'm just stoked to get into it all. And, I guess, like kind of just I would like to hear more about your journey, because ultimately with this platform, your journey like in your regenerative businesses and all of that, your farming experience, because ultimately what all of this is leading up to is to support farmers like you. To even support indigenous and BIPOC farmers like you, and all the regenerative projects that we can get into. And there's a lot of creative ways, we'll get into it about how I want to give back, and I will mention just to, at the beginning here, all of our presentations, performances, workshops, talks like this, they're all I call it donation based. Like this is our donation based virtual stage for everyone to come up on, where all of the proceeds will go directly to benefit our speakers and performers, and the other 50% will go into what I'm calling the regenerative fund, that we can further put back into the communities of all people everywhere that want to get into this movement. And yeah, this is really just, a time for us to inspire and educate with what we can bring. And yeah, I would love to hear more about your journey and where you're at now, and how I might be able to help and or how we can all help.
All right. Well, my path in regenerative started out in cannabis. School was never my strong end, but cannabis I've always enjoyed. Even as a football player, I was one of the few people who would use cannabis on the football team, but I found it always would calm me down and just kind of get me into a different state of mind instead of the hoorah going out on Friday nights. I wanted to kind of sit down and take in the week, and it brought me into a meditative state all the time. And then, being street kids, we knew about cannabis and we had our hustle, but learning how this plant was serving me guided me into wanting to grow the plant. And then growing that plant more organically made the plant more spiritual and more biochemistry in there, which made it a better medicine. So I was an electrician at the time, and I got electrocuted. I was doing a 277 pool line up at Stanford University, and this thing toasted up my hand pretty bad. And
Wow.
skin grafts, I couldn't go back to my old trade, so I had to think of something else to do. And they this was like a 5 to 7 year journey of having skin grafts and being on different pain medications, but I always knew cannabis and plants were the healing path for me. So I started to use plants to heal myself, and I realized, shit, why don't I do this as a trade? Because I can't go back to using my hand like I used to. So I wanted to be a herbalist. So as I started studying the herbs and all the different medicinal herbs, I realized like they can be different based on where you get them, and this was solely revolved around soil. If the soil had certain things in it, then the biochemistry of the plant was going to have a different makeup. So I
Sure.
started to get interested in soil, and then my little sister brings home her boyfriend, and you gotta do what all big brothers do: start busting his chops, find out where he's from and what's he doing. And he had just got back from Costa Rica, one of the first 4 people to bring EM back to the United States. And he
Mhm.
started talking to me about microorganisms and how that can provide all the MPK we're putting into our plants. Now, this was like an alien speaking. No one's ever talked like this before. So here he had this little EM brew. He was making bokashi. He was trying to get this thing off the ground. And I found that thing very interesting, and it called to me. And he one day busted out the bioceramics, which are connected to the EM. And it's basically quartz silica, which is fired with the EM, but it raises its electromagnetic potential, its far infrared, and makes its vibrational state eh, beneficial for biology. Gives that mitochondria its boost and gets life going, gets the plasma going. So when he did this little wine trick with the bioceramic, it basically changed the taste of the wine. He poured 2 glasses of cheap wine and held one of the glasses just next to the bag, 10 seconds, and had me taste that bag and then taste the other wine. And it was like magic. The tannins and the acids all kind of calmed down. The fruit came forward. It was like a completely different wine. So that
Mm.
was like the beginning for me on electromagnetism, looking at things that we cannot see. 20 years ago, microbes we could not see. That was a whole thing in itself. But to look at this electromagnetic force that was able to change the effects of the taste of things, whether it was coffee, wine, pale ale, the homies Hennessy. It didn't matter. It was restructuring everything. So this was very foreign 20 plus years ago. People, they either enjoyed what you did or they never want to talk to you again because you made everybody's mind just go, out the roof there.
Woo
But for
woo.
me, I knew
No,
there
that,
was something that we could not see, and there's something that we could feel, and that we could know. And this is where the indigenous side, we always knew this, but we just didn't have, we always called all things connected, but now the science is calling that quantum mechanics. But we're
hmm
understanding that everything is connected. So for me, diving into this field of at that point, I was like, dude, let me make your bokashi for you. Teach me everything. Because there's only 4 cats that know this, right? So he, in the United States at that time. So he let me jump on and do bokashi with him. And just like today, getting these things off the ground so you could financially be independent. I got to keep my day job still, because there's just not enough happening like that. So homie was doing the side hustle and got busted taking 400 pounds from Arizona to New York and had to go do time. So when he went into time, he was like, V, take over everything for me, run the accounts, make the bokashi. And I jumped in and did that. And he didn't slow down though. He ended up learning law, becoming a paralegal in agriculture. Now he's a lawyer in agriculture. So you can see when you're inoculated, you don't slow down because of these challenges. And that's what I would later learn as I would take this thing into these different areas. Because when you use the EM in the bokashi, there's different levels of involvement. You could just use it for your home, your personal garden, and you'll be fine. But then, like me, one day The school garden needed help in this, needed help as teachers. And I knew a little something about the garden, so I went and I helped the kids. They got no money in schools for nothing. But here I am, I can trap bokashi, I can trap food waste, add bokashi and make garden beds. I started to find out where my skill set was valuable, not just in the cannabis community where I come from, but now I was in my family, in the schools, right? And I started realizing, like, oh man, I can feel something again, just like with the bioceramic. I can feel the children lifting up. I'm in Napa, California, where these kids have everything that they need, well to do children, but they didn't have that missing thing of vibration, of connection, of love. Their parents were always gone all the time, their nannies were raising them, but to have like this connection between classmate, teacher, producing food, when you hit these elements, amazing things start to happen. And that's when I really started to get caught on, like, wait, this is bigger than just food waste. This is bigger than just doubling my terpene score. This thing is like changing the community. And I noticed like the school would start to change once we had the gardens. They would then tell their other friends in different schools, and my phone would ring and be like, hey, can you help us do this here? Now, I just got a GED in school. I hated that place. But I started to realize people want me to come in and teach just because I know a little something about fermenting garbage. Fuck it, I'm gonna run with it and go, right? So then I started noticing, like, once I was in the schools doing it, I started to really awaken my own self. As you work with regenerative components, you become a different person each year. And if you are the same, then you're missing something. You're going to find yourself doing a lot of pruning in your life, and you are going to change every year. This thing has to change. You have to change. So I started to notice, like, uh, what's up with my own history? Where's my indigenous people? All this permaculture that was being talked about at the time, that all evolved around indigenous technology, but there wasn't a lot of indigenous faces or participation in that area. So I got with my intertribal council, and I was able to like bring in together the components of intertribal lessons to an all-white school. Now my thinking on that was like, all these rich kids are going to go to college. They all got money. If I can get them more inclusive on being included in what's happening in the indigenous community, they're going to make changes in Napa for us, because it's not their parents that are going to do it right now. It's going to come in 10, 15 years. And that's where we're at right now. These kids are graduating, they're inheriting those vineyards. They grew up knowing microorganisms are good for them, good for their land. Now the changes are going to take part. But during that process, when we do these things, we always want results right away, but I left Napa. I thought that microorganisms would take off. I'm in wine country. Hell no, didn't happen. The parents scared to death now because their teacher, they found out, was involved in medical cannabis, right? And my whole point was to show them, like, yeah, medical cannabis people can be good, just as wine country. Everybody's drinking wine here and no one's blinking. Why are you tripping? Because I'm smoking my medical cannabis. So my whole thing was like, I started finding like there's all these things you start pioneering. Now I was pioneering the Disability Act for cannabis, right? I was pioneering the indigenous culture side of myself, but most of all, the regenerative component of what EM and bokashi could do, because that's really why I was even doing this thing. So all these other things start to get tied into it. That's where you ask yourself, what's my level of involvement? And you got to always have a recovery point, because parts that used to work break down on you, but the microbes and the bokashi don't, right? So the bokashi balls don't. You got to have a recovery point. When the intertribal components broke down, I ended up having 300 people in our intertribal. We had 80 people when we started. We were up to 300 and something, but because most of them were white and the funding was for intertribal kids, I had to tell the white kids now that they couldn't be part of our connection. But I had a recovery point. I started looking at different angles because I know this ain't forever. But these are the things where, as you move into community, things are heartbreaking, man. I seen, this is just like they don't equate it to like a battle zone, but when you've been in the trenches this long, people get battle shocked. I've seen suicides happen because people did not have recovery points as they move things forward. It's not a financial reward you're going to get from this thing. you're going to get energy. Oh, you're going to have tons and tons of energy, big energy coming. Okay. But you got to learn how to sort that out so that you can continue while you're even doing this thing. So, jumping on with the kids, cannabis wasn't legal then. We had the medical cannabis going, but this is when legalization was popping through. California was not looking good for the legal side as far as the craft farmers. So I bounced up to Oregon. My kids have been telling me, Dad, go see Portland. Dad, see Portland. No one listens to their teenage kids, right? But I took one trip with them, saw Portland, and I was like, damn, it embraces the art. There's hella weird people here, so no one's even looking at me no more like in Napa. So I was able to like blend in here in Portland and still coming with it though, because right at that time is when COVID hit. The BIPOC community got tied together strong here in Portland, and the things that were happening here in Portland in community would have never happened back in California because it wasn't done in the numbers we were doing it in Portland. They were able to access big pieces of land so that people can begin to farm and do food sovereignty programs. I was still working cannabis at the time, but this last stage of cannabis was the last straw. I'd worked with different companies, and it's just like cannabis as we know today. It's always run by corporations. It does not embrace the heart of what I'm trying to explain to you today. That feeling, I was not getting it. It was through the workers, through the field, yes, but trying to get to management, no. So I had to figure out what to do, and it ended terrible. So I was like, okay, shift gears. What are we gonna do? I started looking around and I see jobs up here in conservation. Now, I never went to college, GED, like I told you. Everyone getting these jobs in conservation all have backgrounds, to get these jobs. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna apply anyway. Luckily, the lady who was looking at applications was huge into mycology, and she saw all the stuff that I did, and she gave me a crack. So when I come in to do conservation, it was stormwater management. That's where you get all the junk water of a city coming into a rain garden and filter it out. Perfect place for microbes, perfect place for biochar, right? So then I started looking like, okay, let's keep rolling. So I was able to then push in those areas of conservation so we can get biochar in those storm waters, right? We can get the microbes in. And there's points too, when COVID was happening, we had riots going off like you would not believe up here. I'm sure you saw the news. And I'm running around Portland. I have a 500-gallon water tank that I fill up at the fire hydrant, and they wanted me to water these little stormwater facilities to keep them alive. And I'm thinking, shit, I could spike this thing with EM every time. So I made sure I had two big tanks of EM, no one looking. Every time I filled that tank up, which was 8 to 12 times a day, I would put my EM in that thing, and I would start to put EM around the city. But then that's when it started to hit me like, damn, there's other ways to fight. There's other ways to fight this thing down. These little microbes, once they get into an area, the things that they do as far as quantum biology goes and connecting with living things is more than I can ever say. And whether I talk for 5 days straight, these microbes can touch a community when you put them out there in a way like no one's business. So I started to realize, like, damn, we got to take this in our own hands. Sometimes we have to do things in our own hands. If I get fired for putting microbes all over the city, so be it. I'll be so proud of that. But these are the kind of things where you start to have to take some risks on your own. And then most of all, for myself to know, like, yeah, I'm with my people, but I don't fight that way. I'm with my people, but I don't get angry that way. I'm with my people, but I'm gonna grow shit 24 hours everywhere I can get it. Get these things out there everywhere. And I felt like, by taking that route, you start trying to take care of your local waterways. We start taking care of our communities where they're disenfranchised through the soil, through the backyard gardens. That resonates. It's real talk. Look up quantum mechanics. So this is where this is where I'm at now because I was so caught into that vibe. What's making me come here? What is that path? Now, if you want to look at it, it's that quantum biology. Everything resonates. Everything exchanges information. Cell phones, cellular communication is what's cracking all the time through biology. So these are the kind of things you're not going to see it with your microscope work, but you're going to feel it and you're going to see it with other types of radiation imaging. But these are the parts where we cannot get lost in the microscope. We have to get lost in the feeling. because when we do that, we build up our local community, we build up our local food systems, and that's what's important. We don't want to take this back down the science route. That's how we got here, I think, in the first place. We're getting so technical and sciencey and labby. It's like, wait. There's so much work to do here. So much work to do. So much work. And then that's how I feel like we can reel it back in, because that's how it all started. We didn't get started on this to satisfy the lab or satisfy papers or satisfy the science community. It was to trap waste so we can make food happen for the kids. It was to grow better medicine so people can live or die more peacefully.
Mm.
hmm So that's how kind of how I got here, and just swimming right now in the quantum biology now. That's been a whole area where I'm just like, yeah, that's what's up now. We gotta get to the feel. When we feel it, we know it.
Man, that's so powerful. It's been a while since I've actually heard that story, your journey in the beginning. And that was for me like 8 years ago or so with APSO and your course material on there. And so it's just super powerful to hear that again. And I just love how much you bring in the more qualitative aspect of all of this. We get, like you were mentioning, like with science, we take such a quantitative approach, and it kind of removes the human element to the connection and what we're working on and who we're, who and how we're affecting what, you know what I mean? Like it's so yeah, I'm so with you, and I really believe that that's where, at least the masses should be focusing on. Hopefully, like we definitely need people with microscopes seeing what we're doing. That's kind of a cool aspect, but getting lost up in all of that is yeah, like you said, it's kind of led to the problem we're in, this whole quantitative experience, dollar signs and numbers, and
Mhm.
it's all a game that most of us aren't really willing to play, and that's what, it doesn't give us the empowerment or the funding even to do these kind of projects, when just like you were doing, like you got the job to take the water jugs out there and taking your barrels of EM and just doing what you knew to do. That's just so powerful.
Mhm.
Thank you
Mhm.
for doing what you're doing.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, man.
It
We need
keeps me
more of that.
alive. You can tell this
Yeah.
is medicine for me more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when shit like that happens, you start wondering, like, man, what are we gonna do? Everyone's out there raising hell, and I feel like that's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try something different.
Yeah, we got enough politics going on, that's for sure. And there's a lot more of that going on right now. And this time it seems like it just gets a little more aggressive every season.
Mhm.
We turn over, We'll
Mhm.
see what happens, but I know that that's what I started this whole platform, is to really connect with people that are on the ground doing this kind of work and connecting in that kind of way. And just it's just so, like, I don't know, I feel super empowered just sitting on the side talking with you. And I'm all day I've just been thinking about, getting in the garden, and like I have a family to feed. I need to make money and everything, but ultimately I see a world that's going to take a lot of action to build, and it's definitely not going to be like it's not going to be taught in the schools. It's not going to be funded. Well, with people like you going to the schools teaching the kids, like that's where it can start. Absolutely. But ultimately it hasn't happened on at scale yet.
Mhm.
And so, family to family, community to community, it's what it's going to take us doing all this action.
Mhm.
And hopefully hearing your story and, everything we're going to get into, people's questions and everything here at the end, just how we might be able to help people get into those actions.
No, I feel like what you got going on here, because like I said, I've been doing this a while. We've done this thing on grants. Now the grants require so much
Yeah.
administration time that that's where most of the money's going.
Yeah.
And we have a bit. My partner and I, Ray, have a business called Ground Culture right now, and we've been able to do so much work in 2 years, selling mud balls and bokashi and holding classes. But and this is going to happen to other people. Now it's become we're so successful in what we're doing. Some of the bigger agencies want us to do jobs with them, but we're a small business, and they want 4 different kinds of insurances, right? Private work vehicles for those jobs, which is what we want. But
Yeah.
the reality is, Well, I'm selling mud balls. There's no way to like meet the need that they
Yeah.
have for that. So, the community, we've done great. I feel like we've done as far as we can go, but we're definitely going to have to pull back here now and figure out how to restructure this thing so that we can continue working with the bigger agencies. We didn't think we'd get there that fast. So now we have to figure out how to like redo this business because it's not mud balls that's going to get us there, and the insurance is to get us there. And especially looking right now, education is really our biggest income pooler for our business. We teach the disenfranchised community in Portland. They have a ton of cohort training programs where they can come in and learn how to make biochar, bokashi, native plant. We work at a native plant nursery, but we show them all these angles. But the insurance is now for doing this, you got to, it's just like, man, but
Money.
adjustments, right? With the right adjustments, we won't have to take out and put on our credit cards to do these kind of maneuvers. And this is what I like about what you got going on here. This is going to give people a platform to vote with their dollar and be like, shit, man, he's directing it right, and then they can hear what's happening in real time. And then this is how we're going to get to where we need to get to. But right now, I feel like the way we got to in the whole movement is at a standstill because the resources don't come back to the moving parts of the thing. And you got to always put oil and grease in the moving parts so they can keep doing the moving parts. Otherwise, we get stiff and rusty.
Yep,
And
money's just another energy flow we need to capture, and
yeah,
put it
yeah,
back
we can
in.
do it
So,
though.
yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely it shouldn't be the focus. And it's funny, even this morning, this whole time I've even actually planned on creating a whole nonprofit structure to carry what it's called like the regenerative grant program. And, I want to give grants and scholarships where people don't have to pay back or nothing. And I want to work with individuals directly to give money to them for their projects and help them get started or even improve their operations, help you get those trucks, whatever you might need. And it just hit me today that I actually don't need to go that route. So I've decided I'm not going to take that nonprofit route because of those bureaucratic reasons and all of the delays and all the things, and I would lose autonomy in helping my people. I've spent 7 years on this project and it's so connected to my heart, and I just want to keep, putting it out there that way. I don't want it to get like dampened by all of the, yeah, like I said, the bureaucratic just
Hmm.
process that just absolutely like, buries the soul in what
Hmm.
the whole project, it's just like, what are we even doing? Like, I should just get out there and do. So, yeah, I'm just super excited, and, I really do hope all of this takes off. And for those of you listening, I do want to remind you that this is donation based, and every dollar that we do receive, half of that goes directly to Cuauhtemoc and his operations. The other half will be going into a savings account where eventually, hopefully, billions of dollars, will build and we could give it to the people. That's my dream, anyways. I don't need billions of dollars by no means. Like, that's not my goal here. I could use a little help just to take care of my family and all that. I didn't set up this business to do that. That was never the intention. Well, actually, I can say that it started that way, but I've had enough reflections, because of people like you and everyone in my community that have had struggles facing that idea of like having to create like a business or educational model that feeds into itself, and like you have to constantly put out content or new products or whatever just to feed that business, which we got to do that, but without enough support, it's hard to do it on the ground and take care of your family. And ultimately, if we can get enough community support, I believe we can make that a lot easier for us to do these things. And so ultimately, that's why everyone that's going to be involved is going to be directly benefiting from the experience. So it's like it's a collaborative crowdfunding experience that, you know, feeds itself. I don't need much. We all need it. We all need much more. I'm just a little drop in the ocean.
No, that's why I connected when I heard that you had like a full-time job and you're
Yeah,
doing HVAC work. I'm
HVAC.
like,
Yeah,
look, Ray, he's like us working full time too. Everything you put it together is like on your free time.
yeah. I mean, I
So
got
it's just
17
like
bucks in my
good.
my wallet.
That do you see? That's
You
what
know.
that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
That's the real struggle, man. This is for
Yeah.
everyone with your check engine lights on.
Yep.
That's too.
Yeah.
the blocks in the Prius. That's
Yep.
us. We try to make it fucking happen.
Yeah.
Now I feel that. I think this is gonna do good because now people are gonna vote with their money and watch what happens, man. People are
Yeah.
gonna give us the fuel, and that's what we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was one of those kind of like solutions in the problem kind of moments I had last year. I saw a lot of musicians struggling and even talking about certain musicians that I follow on Facebook and stuff, like, calling out the need to connect with local farms and everything. And they're like struggling musicians and they're talking about struggling farmers. I'm like, man, there's gotta be a way we can pull all this together, work
Mhm,
together.
mhm,
Everyone put in a couple bucks. We got the great network of, the internet here to make some really great things happen. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm really excited. And, this is like I mentioned, this is like a foundational event. This is actually like our first like inspirational talk workshop kind of thing. I hope your story inspires and educates people and gets people moving because, it moved my heart. That's how I connect and relate. And that's what keeps me on this path. So I don't know.
Well, I think you answered to the calling, and I remember when you first reached out to me, I mentioned it to you,
Yeah.
and the Taino people in our community, you guys, the medicine, the what we call the shaman or the medicine man for the Taino, he's not the guy who administers the medicine to you or does the saging to you, but his job, the shaman in the Taino medicine, the medicine man in Taino culture, his job is to get together the doctor who actually applies the herbs, the scientist who researches everything in the bush to bring back to the doctor, and the third most important part, the artist, the ones making the art. Because the artists, when they start to create something, will grab from the plasmas, the ethers too, that
Mm.
the thing that the doctors and scientists are working on but can't quite get out. So this is what makes your platform super cool than some of the other platforms that are out there where we just talk about regenerative farming. We're going to watch this thing now. We're going to see some of the artists that come through.
Yeah.
And if we're doing it right, you're going to see we're all singing the same song,
Yeah.
but differently, And that's how the energy that got me back in the day with that ceramic, that's how the energy grows. And this is going to be straight energy project. I can feel it already,
Yeah.
but we have to cash in on it like that. So when I heard you taking that position, I was like, what, musicians too? Heck yeah. Let's see what this baby can do.
Yeah.
Let's put some gas in it. Let's get it to run.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, I'm a musician as well. Actually, partly, in my band Seven Fire, everything I do, I've been gifted so much like insight from indigenous ancestral wisdom. Even from speakers like yourself. And it's been a long journey that I've been accumulating all of these insights and stuff that have led up to this moment. I want to keep honoring that. Like even our band Seven Fire, it's based off the Seven Fire prophecy. And whenever I discovered that prophecy, it just hit me so hard, and it was like that calling. And I just, I've always been dreaming of a platform where we can actually, that's what I wanted to create in the band, is like a platform where we can actually work together, make that choice to make a change. And, the whole prophecy, the Seven Fire, that we have a choice of two roads to take, right? One that's green and abundant for all mankind, or one that's scorched and burned. And I believe, like what you were saying earlier, just like if we continue the ways that we have focused on politics and science and all the things that quantify everything and leave out the connection aspect to the qualitative aspect, it ain't gonna go anywhere but to the fire and eventually that fire is something we're all gonna stand around and reflect and share these stories. And we're gonna have to come up with some new ways. But I believe before it all goes, to the fire, I believe we can make a change and steer the ship, if you would.
Well, I think even if we look back at the old ways, and this is something that I always like to do,
Yeah.
and I always equate it to like when your computer doesn't work right and you got to reset it back to a date when it worked properly. I think we did that with agriculture. We
Mm.
look back at all these different agriculture systems and how they worked properly back before they went haywire, and we brought them forward as permaculture practices. But one thing that I brought from the past that I think we can use today It's an old Mayan story about the last time everything came down into the ice age and
Mm.
all mankind was forced towards the equator. People of many different languages and skin color and practices and traditions were all moving down towards the equator. And as they got closer into the Mayan regions where it was not as frosty and people could settle, they had to come up with three rules to keep everybody in order and also not mess up what they already had. And I think if we keep these three rules today, if it worked before,
Yeah.
why reinvent it?
Right.
And the three rules that the grandmothers told us to pass on was the number one thing was you never change the name of a place where you go.
Mm.
The name of a place where you go has a meaning. Somebody named it that way. The voice, when you say that, vibrates that place into a living being.
Wow.
Know it, honor it, and learn from it. So just don't change the name of a place. Don't lose your religion. Your, your religion's your religion. It's given to you and passed down. It's beautiful. I won't pass mine to you. Don't pass yours to me. But we'll share and celebrate together and
Mm.
hold it close. But the goal isn't like to force each other with these different beliefs, but nurture what's given to you and now nurture it a lot because you're far from home, you
Mm.
know, and your language, keep your language. The things are given to us in a certain way through colonization. Languages were almost wiped out.
Yeah.
Sometimes things don't translate the way they do in English or in the way that our ancestors where we come from. But when you hear the language in which your DNA comes from, it then starts to unlock and vibrate different components of knowing of yourself, a sense of well-being that only comes from these words that were repeated for a
Mhm.
long time for you to be here today, not to
Yeah.
be lost. So we don't ever want like one language for everybody, one religion, or come and change names. And I think that's like three simple things anyone we can do. And
Yeah.
you'll find like, damn, hell, this fucking bad energy just went away because I can keep what's me,
Yeah.
right? So I think looking to the past too, when things are kind of unwinding, like how did they do this before? We all had to come under some pressure before. Or it's like we're all coming together. It's like the internet's bringing us all together, and
Yeah.
and it can really make this thing ascend in community, or we can really be in division.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone understands we did it once, we can do it again.
Yeah.
But hold on to these three things, learn
Yeah, I
them.
believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Super important right now too. We're coming up with a lot of division, especially right now. You can see it online, and it almost was like worrisome as I launched all this, and it was like the day of inauguration, basically. And oh man, a lot of people came out to speak about it, but not that I even focus on that a lot. And I just think those three rules, it's so important. And like language, it's like we're so far, we've lost our sense of place. Like most of us are like not even where we are from originally. So we got to find a sense of place. So it's kind of like what were you saying earlier? Like kind of like a reset, like coming up to what did you call it? My bad. I couldn't remember what you were saying, but I was trying to relate it. But essentially just, and the language, I think there's so much culture and stories and song and all of that I hope that, this platform can bring all that up so that we can come into remembering and, find our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every culture has something so beautiful that we can learn from. Recently, I've been diving into, I don't know if anyone here is listening, but or have read it, The Ringing Cedars of Russia.
Mm,
Beautiful book that talks about the Anglo side of the natural world. But
wow.
it turned out Sepp Holzberg, is that his name, the permaculture guy?
Yeah, he's the
He ended up going to
water
look for
guy.
her. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He ended up going to go like if she was a real person. So I look at the Ringing Cedars book as a type of like maybe a make believe but intelligence story. But
Mm,
he actually thought it was a real person. But when you look at Ringing Cedars book, you'll see so many things in relationship to land development, as far as planting practices go, all the way down into capturing contaminants from the air using bumpers on cars. So it's just like a real fun way to
Yeah.
explore something, but culturally related to the
Yeah.
Anglo side of things, where it feels very relatable to everybody. And we realize, yeah, we are all the same. We all want the same thing, man. We all want things to grow and love. We all want family.
Absolutely. And honestly, that's kind of what I found in the permaculture movement. And, there's aspects that have kind of gotten lost in, aspects of colonialism and stuff. There's like a lot of different things that are happening within the permaculture movement. But, like you were mentioning earlier, how it's really stemmed from these like indigenous ways of living. And it's like incorporating all of these modern technologies and waste streams and all kinds of stuff into a solution and a creative story that we're all co-designing essentially. So that is really cool. I have heard of that book. I haven't read it yet. Many books to read. So another one for the list.
There's an audio book on YouTube, much easier to digest.
Yeah.
Plus, the lady's voice is like a kindergarten school teacher. So you might fall asleep listening to it.
Oh,
Super
nice.
soothing. You're gonna like the audiobook's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is great, man. Yeah, I've been really digging this talk, and this is really, like I was mentioning earlier, just kind of exactly what I've always envisioned for this platform, and just getting these stories out there, and yeah, getting to inspire, educate, and empower people to really take action. And it's just one story at a time. Like in permaculture as a designer, it was always for me like one backyard at a time. Like that was for me like a very quantitative like upbringing in permaculture. Like I built my business around getting as many designs, getting into as many backyards as possible. But on the way, I found out like how many people I got to connect with and all the struggles that I got to witness. And, it really helped me dial back as a designer what needs to really take place, and for me, that's, and I got a lot to write about it in my book. I'm incorporating ideas like within holistic management to help us gain a broader perspective on the holistic context that we're dealing with. And I really want to input these like indigenous ancestral ways and like, taking off models of like, village and generational living that we just don't see anymore. It's like there's so many people like, especially in America, we're just all so divided and separate and blocked up in our own backyards and all kinds of stuff. It's a different challenge that we're having to approach. And so yeah, like our land is shaped differently, but our hearts are the same. So, we gotta connect. And man, I'm just so excited.
No, it seems very
Happening.
competitive for sure. And
Yeah.
I remember like because I learned EM and bokashi before KNF came through. And when I learned KNF, I thought this is the greatest thing for EM, and I can add this stuff to my EM.
Yeah.
Then you had the KNF guy say, no, bokashi KNF. And then the Jadam team came through, no KNF Jadam. And there was like all these different things happening with, and to me, all of those had like pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
But I started realizing like everybody's so competitive, there's no cooperation. You're missing the benefits of all of these practices. They're given to us to like blend together and use according to what we have and what's easier. It's not like one is the best over
Yeah.
the other, but there would be so much division over like times where I felt like it should be a unification component, but somebody had to be right, and it just we have to come back to that point of cooperation and
Absolutely.
less competitive motion and
Yeah.
moving forward.
Man, that's actually on a perfect note right there. We're like 45 minutes in. I want to bring in that cooperative aspect, open up the floor to Q&A. Adam, super pleasure to have you here. Adam's actually one of our,
Yeah.
first supporting members, helping me, support me directly on this mission to build this platform.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I got to connect with Adam just this last week and hearing his story and what he's doing on his farm, and it's just so very well connected to everything we're talking about. And I believe that these like our farms are like a awesome central like hub point for us to connect and kind of spread from. And then, it's like all of us practitioners, farmers, and I see Adam and Cuauhtemoc, you guys are doing like very similar things in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
and especially like on regenerative agriculture and practice. And it's just like it's so fun to see that and to bring us all into one space. And yeah, so anyways, I just wanted to open the floor and, invite you into Adam, since
Yeah.
you get the exclusive opportunity to be here and speak with us. And
Yeah.
I'll get to the
Yeah. It's
questions on
awesome.
Facebook after.
Yeah, man, it's awesome, man. I'm loving this energy. It's just good to be able to actually find people now. I've been like praying to the universe to be throwing out, the right people to help build and work off the same, that on the same spirit to be able to start going down that same course and find each other. Because I knew you guys were out there and stuff, and you, Sean, has definitely set this up right, man. And Cuauhtemoc, man, damn, dude, what you're doing is exactly like you're on the same spirit too, man. Just doing it in your own way, and I love that, dude. And I'm just glad to find you. You're definitely my brother in the spirit, dude, on this. And yeah, man, like even what you were talking about with bokashi and EM, dude, that's literally where my journey started too. And biochar and stuff, like I met some of the most brightest minds that I know today through like those type of practices and everything, and I've adapted them to my farm. What we would do over here at Water Rock Farming is we grow hemp. We use hemp to grow hemp, and we use these practices of bokashi. When we do our extractions for making our products, like our tinctures, we use a bio waste that would normally just go straight into a compost, into actually fermenting it and making that bokashi brand. So then we could use that brand to be able to also ferment, table scraps and other farm waste that we have too, and making that good, hemp kashi that we call it, a hemp kashi, tea and stuff, and be able to feed that to our crops and all that. We also use a little farm exclusive thing that we kind of do, but we also want any other people that are growing hemp to do with the biochar too. With the type of plants that we grow when we're doing the CBD concept, they grow more like a tree, so it's kind of harder to process compared to ones that are growing for fiber and like how they make like hempcrete out of all that. Ours is a little bit more of a challenge to be able to separate the bast fibers from the herds fibers, which are like the herds being woodiaceous parts of the plant, and then the bast fibers being what they use for like clothes and textiles. Being able to separate that's a little bit more of a challenge. So a lot of times this stuff just goes to waste, and they ended up just lighting on fire and are burning it. And so teaching them how to actually burn it the right way and maybe cook it, so then you can actually use the char that's left from that, the biochar, aka hemp char, as a substitute soil amendment that could actually go in ties with the bokashi or hemp kashi, and work together synergistically to help grow again more of these cannabis plants that you're doing and everything too. Using whatever farm waste you have from whatever crop you're doing, putting it back into the soil is a big thing, and I think a lot of farms forgot about that and stuff. So but yeah, just like you, Cuauhtemoc, man, like cannabis has been a gateway to farming for me big time, and it's opened doors to where I mean, getting as far as my story goes, it was a calling that started maybe back in like 2015. I bought my first house out in this place called Pahrump, Nevada, and Pahrump actually means water rock, translated by one of the local Paiute tribes that are around here and stuff. And so like what you were talking about as far as like not forgetting where you came from, and don't change the name of things and all that. That's a big thing. That's why I just decided to go with water rock on our farm, because I wanted people to know where I'm farming at, and being able to have the name that just identifies that, shows you like, the area and the location and the things that we're working with and stuff too. So I'm with you on that too, man. And
Love that.
yeah, like you covered so much that I really wanted to start doing too, even with the schools and stuff, like doing like the bokashi and bringing that. I've actually have a plan that of going over to my kids' schools. Our school and our education process is so horrible out in this area. We're like on the bottom of the 50 states. We're at probably maybe 48, 49, if not the exact bottom for education. And they were supposed to change that as soon as cannabis became legal in this state. And all that money is just most likely just going to, the corrupt politicians and stuff. Nothing has been done. Nothing has been changed. Yeah, there's millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, that are being taxed. Now it's probably even in the billions, because it's been since 2015 since this became legal, and none of it's
Wow.
going towards the school. So, it's not going to, like the money is like whatever, but we need the people, to be able to, we have to have a good talent of people here. And I'm hoping to kind of be able to reach out and find those people locally to be able to do stuff. But, tying back into with the schools, I wanted to be able to go over there, and take some of the food waste that's going on, and then make a bokashi, and maybe even start some of the school farms again, because it's like the education system, instead of it getting better, even since cannabis got legalized, it's been getting worse. Like my kids at their school, at their elementary school, used to every single year do a little program, like a simple little like music program. They're taking the art out now. Like now, because a teacher sadly passed away, they haven't replaced her with anyone. And so this year has been the first year that my son didn't even get to do like a Christmas performance or anything that they usually always have to do. And it's like, what the heck? So like now they're taking the art out of everything, and just like because
Wow.
they can't afford it, and it's getting really sad. And like we really the bottom line of it, and to where like I'm willing almost to work for free just to go over there and help and make sure that my kids are getting the proper education, because as we're talking, the art side of this stuff is so important. I've been recently also doing audio books and everything, and one of the books that I was listening to was written by Manly P. Hall, who's a big he's a big philosopher. And it's like the secret teachings of all times with antiquity and all that. And one of the things that we talk about as far as being like, because I've been called an alchemist from doing like, the tinctures and stuff, since we're fully integrated. We grow the plant and then we extract and make our product that way. It's been doing so well for people that I've been even called an alchemist. And so I started to look into a little bit of what alchemy is and all that. And even on the philosophical side, it talks about how the key, one of the keys of being like a good alchemist is being able to work off of the arts and also with nature and relating those two things. And so it's just also like very important to be understanding like the arts of stuff too. So yeah, man, I love what you're doing and all the things that you're covering. Even like the quantum mechanics with the microbes and all that, man. Yeah, that immediately right when I got my first calling, I started going into farming. That's when the next things was just like discovering how these microbes start working, and really like homesteading, in a sense, farmsteading. What we call it hempsteading.
Nice.
That's another kind of good, cool little
Branding.
word that I'd like to make too. So, but yeah, and being able to use these things, the art of fermentation, it's been done and it's been going on for so long. I'm not sure if you guys know the book from Jack Herrera that really inspired me. It's called The Emperor Wears No Clothes.
Yeah.
That really that's what opened my mind to
Good
even
one.
be able to grow hemp. I didn't know the difference between marijuana and hemp at all when I first started, and I kept hearing like the spirit telling me you should grow hemp, and I thought it was just telling me to grow cannabis and stuff. And I was like, no, I just my first house, I have kids and stuff, and I just don't want to risk that. I don't want to have to do anything illegal and all that stuff. Even though I could probably have got growing plenty of it if I wanted to and stuff. I was like, I want to do things, the right way. I don't want to get caught up like that, And so but I kept hearing it. You should grow hemp. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and look into this really quick. Let me see what's going on. So, I typed in just kind of like what hemp is and stuff. And then that's when the spirit started to guide me over to Jack Herrera. And I realized we've been lied to all this time, about this amazing plant, cannabis plant in general, but we've been using this as homesteaders, like since we started to colonize, this new country of America. We've been using this stuff. And then
So
they
many
just
uses.
yeah, so many uses, and they just wiped it out. And it's because of how sustainable it is. They just wiped it out, how regenerative this plant is and stuff, It was too much of a threat to these big money corporations, big pharma, for big farms, to even pharmaceuticals and all that stuff. It was a threat to all of that,
Too many
So
connections.
yes, yeah. And so I started looking into it, and I was like, oh man, dude, this is what I gotta do. So I started looking into it a little bit more, and I started to find out that like our local Nevada Department of Ag actually had a program that allows you to grow hemp and stuff. And so I started to get involved with that. I found some people, like a little hemp association that was local around here. And it was like during like the big boom of the CBD era, where things were like starting to really kick off, and found a lot of people that were growing there. I was able to get a part of that, the cultivation process, and then also as the production process as well and stuff, and learned a lot. Pretty much did my whole schooling of like 4 years that I was working for other people before I started to be able to kick off and start doing my own thing, but also doing my own thing on the side when I was helping other people as well. But yeah, it was literally educational 4-year course of my life that the universe was just preparing me to be able to stand on my own, and giving me the right structure, because all these people that were growing were just like, oh, we want to make millions of dollars right now this year. There's no reason why we shouldn't and all that. And I was like, that's not how business really works, though, you know. And a lot of people, man, they lost their ass in this industry. They put millions into it. You know, I even heard stories of farmers like, you know, committing suicide because they lost their whole farmstead because they put so much money above it that they forgot, and then all of a sudden, like, the value of it, there was no buyers, and everything that you're supposed to sell for $400 a pound went down to like $40 a pound, and then it was just dropping even after that too and stuff. So those sad stories on those things, but luckily I didn't have any money to be able to put that much into it, and I was growing off of like the seams of my pants, you know. Like, the struggle's real, you know, like you get more finer things than money in this industry for sure. And but, you know, and again, money is like an energy, like you were saying, and everything too. And you know, sometimes you definitely need it, and but the universe knows when you're going to need it, and it'll start giving it to you according to what, you know, you do good work, then it's going to start seeing that. If you need that money to keep doing good work, it's going to start seeing that, and it'll start coming through in beautiful ways and stuff. So yeah, I'm just loving everything that you're covering, from like with the EM, bokashi, and all that stuff, man. I'm right there doing that same thing, doing a bunch of fermented plant extracts too. A lot of times, like, even if we feminize our seeds and stuff, we still get a lot of male plants. And so figuring out what to do with these male plants, I was always like, dude, there's got to be something that we could do with these things. And so right now, what we've been doing is just processing them and using them also to make fermented teas with that. So then we're putting the plant back into to help grow the plants too. And I'm thinking it's probably putting a lot of good nitrogen, and obviously, you know, the good microbes and everything that in that too. And I would love to be learning more of like the actual science behind what it's adding to it too and stuff, because based off of even some of the talks when they're doing with Matt Powers and everything like that, there's a guy, I think his name is like Nigel or something, and he has like a whole list of different types of microbes or different types of nutrients that these fermented plant extracts make. And I just kind of have like the farmer's niche, or kind of like, you know, what I feel is going to be good for the plants rather than the science. And it'd be cool to be able to put that science into it. I think science now, we're like you were saying, we're so stuck on like trying to get the numbers and trying to get all that stuff, you know, that we're forgetting about the really true natural way that we've been doing all of this already. And
I will
yeah,
say though that like these numbers, you know, it's like it gets to certain people, you know, and
yes, yes,
really
and
the thing about people is people do everything, money is nothing really. And
yeah,
if we just get enough people together with some money, then, you know, we'll see what we can make
yeah.
happen.
Yes, yeah, big
Yeah.
time. And yeah, just I think the more we do need to focus more on just the doing and the process of being out there and getting your hands dirty and actually working in the soil. But you know, all the we know as a farmer's almanac, I guess you could say, that the science is just going to start proving everything that we've been doing that's good to be good, and why. It explains the why. And, you know, sadly, all these, you know, things that, like, as far as grants go and anyone to invest money, they want to see the numbers. That's a digital era of what we live on, is just numbers. Everything's a number game. And so we have to starting to learn even more stuff of having to tie these numbers into our farming as well. So now we're getting into where us as farmers have to become also the scientists,
Yeah,
you know.
labs,
It's no longer the difference
microscopists.
between them. Yeah, we have to become microscopists. Yeah, on our own sides, you know, like our own. Like, I have to literally learn that. That's the next investment I have to get, is um a microscope and stuff, so I can start looking and seeing the numbers that are actually, you know, like of like microbes that are in my soil, what kind they are and stuff. And going to be using a lot of Matt Powers' resources to be doing that for sure. But it's important, you know, to be able to show that stuff.
Yeah.
But so it just makes a little more work for the farmer, of course. But you
Absolutely.
know, but
Yeah.
it's also fun.
Yeah, more work, more money on courses and books and microscopes and all that.
Yeah.
So it's just in a way adds to the struggle. There's definitely some
Yes.
value it brings. Like I will not argue, you
Yes.
know, argue that. And for like, you know, everyone learns in different ways. Everyone values things in different ways. A lot of
Yes.
people, especially in this coming age, you know, like I don't know if you guys get into like Dan Kittredge and the Biofood Association and all of these
Mhm.
tools coming out to like look at the quality of our foods and stuff. Like they're gonna be on our phones and they're gonna be able to like, you know, it's like a spectrometer. They're gonna be able to read how quality, you know, like the quality of our foods. And
Yes.
people like technology and they're gonna be spending lots of money on that kind of
Yep.
technology. So they're buying the best foods. And us as
Yep.
farmers, we're gonna have to like, you know, there's an aspect, you know, like what we're doing there, it's really happening. The quality of our foods are improving every year when we're doing it regeneratively, and you could
Yeah.
feel it. It's like us in
Yeah.
the fields, like we feel it.
Hmm.
Proving that is a whole nother step that, like you're saying, we're getting into. And that's what I'm
Hmm.
hoping to, help. It's like I'll be building this regenerative grant program to, I have a whole model I'll be sharing soon on like the whole medicine wheel, and I want to go in all four directions essentially. And there's a
Beautiful.
science aspect to it,
Yes.
and I want to help citizen scientists kind of step up. We all have something to bring into this wheel that we got to keep turning, It's
Yes.
got to be regenerative though. Like we've been
Yep.
stuck, like the white nation has enslaved all the other
Hmm.
all the other nations into our business, a way of, being. And, I really see that, when we really step away from that and connect with nature and remember our ways, things unlock and start moving within you. Like your spirit starts to move,
That's right.
and
That's
uh,
right.
it shouldn't stop you to get a microscope and find ways to make that happen. I believe that it's really powerful, and it's such a cool thing to be able to bring all this together. And man, yeah, I love hearing your
Yeah.
story too. Yeah, like just how you getting into hemp. Like I love people's empowerment, like what brings them to where they are now, and how we can keep going. That's what this is for. Like, how do we keep going? Like, how
Yes.
can I help you? What can I learn from you? Um,
Yes.
uh, yeah,
And
that's it.
Adam, they have a EM teacher's manual you can download on the internet. So when you
Okay.
go to schools, it has all the curriculum in there so the teachers can have the classroom side of the
Nice.
outdoor side that you're going to bring. And typically, when you could hit the indoor and the outdoor components, then it's an easy entry point. But a lot of people don't realize EM Teacher's Manual exists out there and is a great learning tool
Nice. Okay.
for K through sixth grade.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I found one that was out there. They did like a teaching thing out in Kenya and stuff, and they were just using EM for like doing the fermented plant extracts, but also to like ferment like things like garlic and peppers and all that stuff to be able to make like bug repellents and for like
Hmm.
pesticides and all that stuff
Yeah,
too.
Right.
lavender is a good one.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, things like that.
this is just going to have like crossword puzzles and fill in the blanks, but it's like school
Okay.
curriculum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, more for the children and stuff. I like that.
yeah,
I like that.
100%. Yep, yep.
Cool. I'm gonna have to look into that, man.
That's super
Yeah,
cool.
that's definitely what I like to do. And just kind of start teaching these kids a little bit more about, growing and stuff because the natives and stuff in this area were doing it, and then all of a sudden, as far as the history with Pahrump goes, as soon as westernization started to happen, people came out and then saw that there was abundance of water out here in the desert, which Nevada is the number one driest state in the country, but where Pahrumps at, it had like a bunch of reservoirs of water below it, and there was springs everywhere. And they came out and started to farm it with improper farming agriculture. They're growing cotton in the desert, so they're just wasting away a bunch of water, sucking it dry, making it to where they were using chemicals and like a lot of poisons down in like the valley in the area. I'm kind of more on the top, a little bit higher where they weren't farming and stuff. So my soil is like more rocky, but down there in the bottom, it's just like it looks like the bottom of like a dry lake bed because of I guess back in like the prehistoric era it used to be like a
Lake.
giant lake and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they were just using improper farming techniques and just messed up a lot of the soil. And they end up having to switch from doing cotton over to then switching over like overnight, making them alfalfa because they realized they were just wasting away waters. All the springs that were natural, all gone and everything too. Took Payout tribe that was local around here, put them on reservations and stuff. So they're away from naturally doing it instead of learning from those people of how they actually farmed
Right.
and stuff and the way that they were like supposed to and stuff. So yeah, it's just really to teach people to be able to farm, and that this land can still regenerate itself and come back, and those springs can come back as long as we're learning the right proper ways of water conservation and being able to build the soil so it retains the moisture correctly and using techniques to do so that will help benefit, the farming community. So then we could start, regenerating the water sources and everything too and stuff. So it's important.
Yeah, a lot of lost traditional ways that once brought a
Yes.
lot of abundance. It's crazy how much got wiped out in just short, seeming like 200 years or so, 250
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got a lot to
Very
get back
quick.
to, a lot to learn, a lot of stories to be, shown and heard. And I, d- I got we got one question from Facebook, and and for those listening, hurry up and get those in because we got a short time here. But You know, I guess we can keep going. I don't know how much time you got, Cuauhtemoc, you guys. I'm totally
Yeah, I'm all
open,
right.
whatever. But I do want to honor the questions coming from Facebook. I only got one, and it's like, could we get to talk about the how to get land question, which is a big one for farmers. I struggled for, this is my 10th farm. I built 9 farms, building farms for other people up to this point. I had the struggle to getting the land, and I definitely know this story very well. I know the struggles of getting on land. And I've come up with a lot of really creative solutions, some of which even have been shared here, like Cuauhtemoc, what you were saying about getting connecting with the school and connecting with the kids, finding opportunities to farm and teach, if you have skills, if you're a farmer wanting to get on land, finding ways to help your community that is in need and filling those positions. That's one way. Definitely that's kind of like the approach I took for you know, a lot of opportunities that I took. Um, but there's a whole generation of farmers that have been struggling and have land um and also they've lost time, they've aged, and they don't have the energy to continue doing so. And I know that there's a lot of ways, a lot of land out there and a lot of people that need help. I actually just got an opportunity yesterday to even take on a farm here in Fordland with 2 high tunnels and it's called a big family farm. I mean, they got a bunch of stuff going on with a pavilion and education center. There's a lot going on there, and I'm like a little overwhelming for me but I was like, man, there's someone out there that could fill this position. So it's just like it's incredible, and I hope that this platform, and I have what's called the regenerative entrepreneur, or the regenerative entrepreneur directory, hoping to get all the farmers and people with opportunities and work opportunities or businesses, whatever, on the map so we can connect in our local communities, start taking action, finding ways to do all this stuff. But ultimately, like I said in the beginning of this, I hope to generate billions of dollars and connect with everyone that want to get into this movement. Like the idea, like with this grant program, is to help start up or improve regenerative farms, ecosystem restoration. I would love to give back to all the reservations and help them take their empowerment back and get into their traditional ways of restoring their relationship with these lands. And that's like, to me, is the most powerful ecosystem restoration, because it's not just like restoring the land, it's restoring our hearts, our traditions, our cultures, and everything that continues to give, rather than just being, like an ecosystem is one thing, but it's like our connection to it is everything to me. And so eventually, once we get the ball rolling, I hope to be able to give everyone land, and I'm not saying me, because it's like we're the ones that are going to make this happen. Like it
Yeah.
is going to require all of us to step in, to see the potential we have, to empower each other to like really step in, take the action that's going to be needed, and open our minds, our hearts, and everything to really allow this to happen. Because really, we're the ones stopping ourselves. Like there's no lack, it's just our perception of it. Like there's so much land, and obviously there's all kinds of like legal issues and stuff that we're having to deal with, but there's so many people in positions of power, like, and not like political power or even financial power, but there's farmers struggling out there with land, like I was saying. Like that to me is super powerful, that opportunity to step in and serve. That's
Let
really
me
where it's at.
let me add on that, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's not just farmers who we can get land from,
Yeah.
because
Ex
out here, if you own a big piece of land, you got to pay taxes on that big
Mm,
piece of land. But if
right.
that part of that land is being used as a farm, your tax bracket changes. So what happened when COVID hit over here, there was a lot of people who had big tax brackets, and they wanted to get some of that stuff into farming production. So then we were able to get access to the lands as set up our farms, because that would then lower their tax brackets. This also has to do with water rights. Sometimes people have water
Hmm.
rights to a canal, but
Right.
they don't have anyone farming there. They need someone to farm on there to keep their water rights, because that retains property value. That gives you the leg up as the farmer, because they need to maintain these things as an asset for their properties. There's also what we did in Portland was we had a bunch of farmers get together, individual people who says, I want to farm, I have this, I want to farm, I got a business, I want to farm. And then they were able to reach out to different agencies. So Metro here in Portland surrendered a piece of land that already had water. It was all set up so it could be collective farming. But if you had to show that you had the collective farms ready to farm, and of course that was a nicer setup. So you have a lot of organizations that can help if you have existing farms, or you have private landowners that want to maintain a different tax bracket that could probably get you in. And then there's also that thing called carbon credits. It depends if you got a little bit more money, you can buy the land, do a carbon credit asset, which means the trees are your renters. How much do you get from your renters? How many trees do you have on there? And then that can give you a percentage of money, which help pays for your monthly on that piece of land. The biggest payout on the carbon credit system is actually bacteria, because there's certain bacteria that can sequester CO2 and gas off oxygen. It's an EM, purple non-sulfur bacteria.
Right.
So you can see we're like applying some of our regenerative practices on the land, getting the calculation from our trees as a renter, our bacteria sequestering carbon. We may actually make the monthly payment on a piece of land that's a
Get more
hillside
bang for your
nobody
buck.
wants, right? But that might be the land that you need for farming. So there's a couple of three different avenues there we could start to think about when we got no money, that we could jump in and help someone else on their own.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I haven't even really gotten to carbon credits. I know that's a whole nother system, you know. But I think we got to take every opportunity we can to make it all happen. And you know, everyone's in different contexts and stuff. I'm not. I've never, you know, like my percent, you know, I've never even looked into carbon credits, so I don't even really know much about it. But hopefully, whoever's listening, they have an interest. Look it up, find a way. You know.
Yeah, that's definitely more I got to look into as well as the carbon credits and stuff too, because it's supposed to be a lot for like hemp. But there has been a lot of scammy companies that has been like saying like, oh, they'll pay you per acre for carbon credits and they guarantee this amount, and then end up like ripping people off and that stuff. So just also, you know, keep in mind of scams that might go out there, you know, and just, you know, protect yourself when you're looking into it as well. You know, make sure that you're everything's legit on the stuff too, because there's a lot of those, you know, scammy brokers out there that are going to want to try to take advantage of this, you know, something that's good like these carbon credits, and then use them for fill their own pockets and leave you in the dust, you know.
100%. You definitely want to look at the short-term deals. The carbon credits change so much. They'll lock you into 5, 10, 20-year deals, and you ain't going to make no money. But then, you know, for the biochar especially, there's a new app that came out by wilsonbiochar.org where you can do your own home calculation on your biochar,
Wow.
calculating the biomass and the finished weight after, where then you can accumulate a carbon bank from just your normal processing right there on the farm. So that accesses like the
Like that.
the landowner and the private farmer who can manage that themselves, you know. And I think that
Interesting.
one's paid out quarterly. But so it's getting easier, but you don't want to do long term because it's only going to get easier to cash in on these things. You know, that's money where we don't need administration or how to
Yeah, that's for
deliverables
sure.
and how we spent it. And we trap in carbon all day long with the stuff we're already doing. So it'd be nice to get a little boost from that just by getting these calculations.
Love
Interesting.
it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I hope to find out you know, more ways to get on land, and I hope that, I don't know if I even mentioned it, but we do have like a social platform where I do hope to connect people. You know, I was mentioning the redirectory where we'll have like a map of all the farms and stuff, but just like Facebook, we'll have a social platform, you know, that I've always hoped that people with these opportunities that need help or have, you know, there's just endless opportunities we can tap into. Um, you know, that social platform is free to join. Everyone can get on there and start sharing what resources they have, opportunities they can share, and just give us all opportunities to tap in and make it all happen. So it's another way. It's just, you know, obviously it's all with the people you know and the people you meet, and you never know what's going to happen. I've been the last 10 years, I've been doing this for 11 years, and the last 10 years I've had, I mean, hundreds of different opportunities to get on land. So it's not unheard of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't think we have any more questions. Got a lot of people digging this talk though over here on Facebook.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And this will be available for forever. I actually did forget to hit record on this, but it'll be on Facebook. So I won't be able to. I'll figure out how to get this on YouTube. I want to have it all available on YouTube, even though I only have like 10 subscribers on there. So like even when we go live on YouTube, I don't ever get even one viewer. Facebook has been kind of the platform I've been with, and that's how I've met all you guys. And anyways, yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, great. This has been a great talk, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for
Any
holding
more?
space for this.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you,
Yeah,
Adam.
man. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, man.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you're doing good out there on the hemp. I definitely want to stay connected.
Yeah, I love all the
Yeah,
branding.
it's
Hemp
it's a weird
char
thing,
and
I
hemp
just had to
kashi.
take it one day at a time and stuff. Yeah, I kind of like those, hemp kashi and like the hemp char and stuff like that, that we're doing and stuff. We call it a little hempstead,
Nice.
Yeah, there's kind of things that kind of make it a little bit unique, so then you could say, this is what we're doing that other people aren't and stuff. And that's a big, huge thing too when you start farming is you want to find your niche and find something that you're doing that's a little bit different because, yeah, like you were talking about with the competitiveness of things, it's very important to find something unique like that. And a little turn like that could really be the difference between, a buck and a billy if you're speaking goats.
No, real. Yep.
Yeah, for real.
Totally.
Yeah, Billy ain't worth nothing, but if you call it a buck, then that's when you get paid.
Nice.
So, real true.
Yeah, Adam, we'll have to get you on the schedule to talk
Okay.
more about what you're doing too. I'd love to
Yeah,
have that happen. I
I
want
got a
to
story.
keep
I
these
got a
circles
story.
going. Yeah.
For sure. Love that, man. Appreciate you, Sean, for hosting this, man. This is awesome. This thing's doing something and it's going somewhere. It's gonna be awesome to be able to check out this video later on and be like, dang, that's where we were when we were starting compared to where it's gonna be at later. It's a good marketing spot right now, though.
Yeah. Appreciate you both for coming on and everyone on Facebook for hopping in and giving us some love on the comments and helping with the algorithms, getting the word out because we just got to keep building this up and see where it goes. And everyone here, like I'm not gonna forget anyone. This is gonna be, this is where it all starts, and I just can't wait to give back, and whatever I can do, that's what this is about. Like I'm doing my darndest, that's for sure. Make it happen.
Yeah,
so,
we see you. We see you, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess till next time, and I'll end the stream here. And much love in the Facebook world.